operate such a system. In a sense, the train of thought will be sprouted from what we call the scientific method, utilized for social concern, but also applied dynamically. To think about it another way, imagine this taxi service was completely automated, so no humans were needed to be employed. That means that first, the control center would have to use inferential logic in order to operate and delegate certain tasks, and the taxis themselves would not be driven by humans, but self-driven, utilizing GPS systems to know exactly where they were going. And and this technology exists today, by the way. So this isn't sci-fi, people. Okay, this sort of stuff exists. And I'll tell you what, if we're still going to pursue the algorithm line of questioning, then think of what's known as the Industrial Engineering Inventory Management System. Otherwise, or as it's better known, barcodes. This has been used for decades, and it's a very good example and a very well-functioning example of algorithmic systems management. Also, to expand on this even further, if you still don't like my answers about algorithms, to give an example of something that is already being used, the kind of technical processes utilized by search engines such as Wolfram Alpha. Wolfram Alpha, it's spelled WOLPHRAM Alpha. ALPHA. Essentially, it's a website that gives a mathematical answer to a human question. I mean, Wolfram Alpha is quite a revelation in the logic applied to search engines, in the respect that it actually thinks to a certain extent. It doesn't override you. It doesn't rule your life. However, it utilizes inferential logic to provide several different answers, depending on what you might have been looking for. To see exactly what I mean, you can go onto the Wolfram Alpha site, and there's an introduction video that takes you through how it works and how it can work for you. It's very, very interesting. So, to summarize this whole answer, imagine that automated taxi service utilizing the programming of Wolfram Alpha, for example, and possibly the same train of thought that barcodes came from. But in fact, it's not a taxi service at all, but a decentralized computer database and resource management system that works dynamically with continual feedback from the environment. That is how resources are allocated. As for the mathematicians that you've mentioned, I honestly can't see how something like the Poincare conjecture, and otherwise known as the three-body problem, has any reference to a cybernated resource management. I mean, the three-body problem is an old astrophysics problem that no one has been able to solve yet. I mean, it's one of those conundrums that's up there with what is the meaning of life. I'll tell you what, when Neil deGrasse Tyson or Stephen Hawking or a similarly brilliant individual comes up with a solution to the Poincare conjecture, then there will be a solution. Besides that, it bears no relation whatsoever to our proposal of an RBE, or its functioning, or its success. As for Lorenz, I think you'll need to be specific as to which Lorenz you're referring to. I mean, in my research, I counted 3 different individuals in the field of mathematics that have the surname Lorenz. So, I mean, by all means, find a way to message me and be a bit more specific so I can cover that. But I mean, I guess my point when it comes to mathematics and an RBE is that they in fact complement each other because they are based upon the same principles. I mean, you can't honestly say to me that an RBE is not mathematically sound and yet uphold the capitalist system. Because The idea of infinite growth and infinite consumption in a finite environment, you're saying that that is mathematically sound? I'm sorry to burst your bubble here, but yeah, that is what it is. Anyway, really moving on, because I'm really rambling. I need to move on. Question 2. What happens if the machines break down? Will the machines fix the machines, or will the humans have to do the grunt work and fix the machines? Okay, good question. When it comes to machines breaking down, which, by the way, this will happen from time to time. However, it will be nowhere near as often as it does today for 3 main reasons. Number 1. Everything produced, including the machinery used in production, will actually be designed to last and made from the most superior methods and materials that are available and optimal at that point in time. Number 2, redundancy will also be an integral part of every facet of the system. Everything produced, from musical instruments, manufacturing machines, to the hardware used in automated resource management, will all be incorporated, have redundancy incorporated into it. We see redundancy in nature, in our own biology. It's the reason why we have 2 lungs, the reason we have 2 kidneys, 2 testes for us men. It's the reason women have 2 breasts. It's redundancy. And number 3, machines will either be designed and manufactured with the capability of repairing themselves. That as well, that they could be easily interchangeable as well. But when it comes to self-repair, it will be by means of either repair mechanisms built in, the physical composition of the materials that it's made from, things like shape memory alloys, or to be easily serviceable by fully automated repair and maintenance machines. I just got this image in my head of that scene from The Fifth Element where Zorg starts choking on the cherry, and all he has to do is press a button and all these. Oh no! It's not when he's choking on cherries. Before that, he smashes the glass, and automatically all these machines come out. Very, very much the same sort of process. But no human being will be expected to fix machines. However, if any person wishes to, no one's going to stop them from learning and creating a working environment of their own, where they can put those skills to good use, like custom manufacturing, personalization of goods and products. Sure, it's if you really want to customize it to your own personal things, there's ways that you can program the systems to do that, but that isn't to say that you can't do it. So some people may feel that they don't want their machines to make anything. They might want to make everything by hand. There's every reason why people can't do that. Anyway, moving on. Question 3. My biggest issue with it is probably that it claims to be anti-materialist, but by advocating universal abundance, is actually talking about super-materialism. Nowhere did it talk about limiting demand to fit the available resources. It was all about expanding resources to infinity. Actually, I would disagree. We can't expand the availability of finite resources. There's ways that we can synthesize, but think about it. Think about it in our own cultural and economic paradigm. Once we run out of oil, that's it. You can't expand any more natural oil once it's run out. But not only that, when we talk about abundance, we're talking about an access abundance. Think about all the things that you own. Besides the sentimentality that you've been conditioned with, do you really have the things that you have because it's the item itself that you need? I mean, do you feel sentimental towards your vacuum cleaner? Or do you own your vacuum cleaner because it's the use of that product that you need? It's not the actual device itself that you need. It's the purpose it serves. So really, it's about an abundance of access to the things that we need. But anyway, but speaking of needs, we're not talking about expanding on the items that are determined by wants. Those things are very different from needs. Now, the difference between the two is that a need is something that is essential for your survival. I mean, for example, nutritious water, shelter, food, education, an environment that facilitates optimal brain development. Those are empirical human needs. I mean, however, on the other hand, through cultural distortions that we have created, what we call wants, which are actually, contrary to popular belief, they're supplemental to our survival. Things like TVs, watches, cigarettes, alcohol, expensive clothes, shoes and accessories, things like that. The problem with our society is that we've deluded ourselves into thinking that our needs and our wants are synonymous. We've deluded ourselves into this because the media has told us that we need them, when in fact they're just wants. They're simply not needs. They're wants. This is because we have made the mistake of incorporating materialism into necessity. Now, it seems that they are one and the same, when the reality couldn't be further from this. We don't need a television to survive, any more than we need a £3,000 handbag to survive. The illusion of materialism has got to go. I'm sorry to say it, and I'm well aware. I'm well aware to anyone listening who may feel they need their expensive trinkets, but I'm sorry, you don't. This superficiality does not provide for you in the long run, okay? The apathy which has replaced caring for this planet and everyone on it has in part bred this disgusting thirst for more and more ludicrously expensive crap that probably cost a fraction of 1% of the retail price to actually make in a sweatshop factory. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that our wants are nothing but auxiliary and contingent upon our conditioning. They are generated by the environment in which we live, and in the disposable culture that we live in now, it is no surprise that these wants have been created. But anyway, when we say that we wish to create an abundance, so I need to get back to the point, that only applies to the needs. I mean, I'm sure that there are certain wants that can be catered for, but nothing of the superficial nature that's bred for nothing more than economic survival that's done today. I mean, you don't hear us say that we wish to create a mansion with 30 bathrooms for anyone. No, we mean an abundance of the necessities of life and an access abundance of those things. An abundance of the essential human needs, and that is nothing to do with materialism, super or otherwise. It's called taking care of everyone on the planet, essentially. Anyway, moving on. Question 4. What would the Zeitgeist movement offer if the inevitable eventually happens and we are in this predicament? Because, of course, I'm imagining a common question will be of families and people considering having families in an unstable future, and what these movements will offer as an alternative to generic but easy option superficial governments. Okay, overall this really is a transition question. Time will have to tell with how we get from here to there. I mean, I assume when you say if the inevitable eventually happens and we're in this predicament as the inevitable collapse of the economy, well, I got to be honest and say that what happens from now to between now and then is completely up to all of you. I mean, and me as well, because I'm one of we're all in this together. But if we do nothing to push forward for an RBE, then I guarantee you that an RBE will not materialize.